Hi, folks. I'm Chris Dorr. I'm the director here at the North Carolina Firearms Coalition. And in this short video, I'm going to talk about the two candidates running to be your next state representative right there in House District 35. This would be I think, the northern part of Wake County. First, we're going to talk about the Democrat in this race, Evonne Hopkins. We're going to take a look at her and break down her positions on gun rights or gun control, as it were. Then we're going to jump over to the other side of the aisle and talk about Republican challenger Mike Schietzelt and his position on the Second Amendment. So if you're pro-gun, if you're pro-Second Amendment, if you're pro-freedom and pro-America, you're going to want to watch this video. And hopefully at the end, share it with all of your pro-gun friends and family. So with that, I'm going to bust out my red marker here, or red pen, and we're going to talk about Evonne Hopkins first and foremost. They say in politics, they say in life that you can tell a lot of person about you can tell a lot about a person by who their friends are. That's absolutely the truth with politicians and the organizations that are funding their campaigns and endorsing their campaigns. So taking a look at Evonne here right out of the gate, let's jump down to the bottom. She is endorsed by Michael Bloomberg. Bloomberg is the godfather of gun control in America. He is financing the gun control movement in all across the country at both the federal level and at the state level. And he doesn't get behind candidates unless they tote his policy agenda. So let's take a look at some of those policy issues. Actually, I'm going to give her a red X for that one right out of the gate. Some of that policy, she supports universal gun registration. Universal gun registration gives government the ability to track, trace, and register gun owners like they're some kind of sex offender. It's important to keep in mind the bill that she supports, universal gun registration, does not apply to criminals, killers, thieves, rapists. Doesn't apply to any of those people. It only applies to law-abiding citizens, because criminals don't line up at your local sheriff's department there in Wake County and register their guns or their knives. That doesn't happen. So you have to ask yourself, if it doesn't apply to criminals, why does Evonne Hopkins want to pass this? And the answer to that is very simple. You can turn on your television and you will hear Joe Biden say stuff like ban them, ban assault weapons, or Kamala Harris campaigns about doing mandatory gun buybacks. Folks, both of those ideas are gun confiscation. And the government can't confiscate, however, the guns that they don't know exist. That's what universal gun registration is all about. It gives government the ability to find these guns and one day confiscate them. When? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but that's the reason for universal gun registration. We're a hard no on that, so she gets another red X. She supports red flag gun confiscation laws. Red flag laws are the destruction of due process rights for gun owners. They allow somebody to petition a court to have your firearms confiscated from you without you ever being charged, tried, or convicted of a crime. The first you'd know about it is at 5:30 in the morning when your front door is getting no-knock raided. And we're seeing a real problem in the states that have already passed this garbage, where it's being weaponized in divorce courts and child custody courts. People are like, if I can get my former ex red flag, that's a gun charge that I can use then to try to deny him visitation rights. Bad stuff. We're opposed to red flags, so she gets another red X. She supports mandatory gun lockup laws. This is bad stuff. Kamala Harris herself was caught on video talking about this. She said that the purpose of them is to be able to have government agents invade the sanctity of your home. That's Kamala Harris's words, not mine, and do government gun inspections. We look back, Evonne Hopkins never said anything about it, but that same government, her party, the Democrats, are the ones who left billions of dollars worth of weapons of war on the streets of Afghanistan that were seized by Taliban terrorists that are now being used against American allies in Afghanistan. What about that safe storage? She never said anything about it, but she wants these people, the same people, to be able to come into your home and see if you are storing your firearms in a way that the government mandates. It's a violation of your Second Amendment right, but it's also a violation of your constitutional right to be secure in your person against unreasonable searches and seizures. So it looks like Evonne needs to read her Constitution. She gets another red X for that. She supports repealing our self-defense laws that are on the books. She wants to make it, and we've seen the bills. They want to make it so that if you're ever, God forbid, forced into one of those situations where you have to defend yourself, that you should be able to prove to a judge or a jury later on, after the fact, that you tried to retreat and get away from that situation before you took action to defend yourself. Now, any mom or dad who sits there and listens to this in the context of having kids with you knows it's absolutely preposterous. What's worse, if you're in one of these violent situations and you pause long enough to consider, have I done enough to prove to the court that I'm the victim here? That pause can mean the difference between life and death. There's no other way of looking at it. Honestly, this idea of forcing a lawful citizen to try to retreat from a criminal is an old Marxist idea that dates all the way back to the Bolsheviks in Russia, and it has no place in America. She gets another red X for that. Bad stuff. She also supports banning AR-15s, and not just AR-15s. She wants to ban semi-automatic firearms. We're talking Ruger 10/22s, Glock, the Glock 19 that so many millions of Americans put on every day to defend themselves. A Remington 1187 shotguns. These firearms, she wants to ban all of them. And let's just get down to the meat and potatoes of it here. Our founding fathers were also brilliant historians, in addition to many different things, but they could look back in history and realize, oh yeah, governments become tyrannical, and when they do that, they can become genocidal. So they turned right around and looked into the future and thought, it could happen here too. What should we do to provide maximum protection for people against tyranny? And that's why they codified the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights. Firearms in the hands of the people are excellent tools to tell tyrants no. AR-15s all the way down to those Marlin Model 60s that Evonne wants to outlaw. They're excellent tools. That's why the founders codified the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights, to make sure that we, the people, had the tools necessary to prevent tyranny from ever taking root in America. That's what it is. It's not about deer hunting. It's not about that at all. So she wants to ban those tools. We say absolutely not. All of this collectively here gives you a score of F. We can come to no other conclusion here. She totally failed on her positions on the Second Amendment. So you guys, I wanted you guys to know that before you went out and made your decision. Let's switch gears here and talk about Mike Schietzelt for just a moment. End this video on a good note. First of all, he filled out his 2024 North Carolina Firearms Coalition candidate survey 100% pro-gun. We asked the toughest questions in the state when it comes to the Second Amendment and the right of self-defense. He aced it. He answered every single question correctly. He said he's a no on universal gun registration, no on red flag gun confiscation, no on banning semi-automatic firearms, yes on SEPA. This is a pro-gun bill. SEPA, what is that? The Second Amendment Protection Act, beautiful piece of pro-gun legislation. It says that North Carolina cops, which North Carolina taxpayers pay for, cannot be commandeered by the feds to enforce federal gun control. That includes Joe Biden's executive orders, or Kamala Harris, God forbid, her executive orders, or agency rule changes like the ATF, which has been arbitrarily redefining rules lately. Mike Schietzelt says, yeah, let's do that. He also says he's a yes on constitutional carry, which is, it's going to pass at some point here in North Carolina. The question is when. Constitutional carry, it's not even controversial anymore. It simply gets government out of the rights regulation business and says that if you're a lawful citizen, a peaceful citizen, you can carry a firearm for self-defense without begging government permission. It's on the books in 29 other states already. Nobody's ever repealed it because it's so bad. It's great legislation. Mike Schietzelt says, let's do it. I'm on board. So if you see Mike Schietzelt out there on the campaign trail, I'm going to give him an A rating right here. There we go. Thank this guy for filling out his survey 100% pro-gun. So many politicians these days are like, oh my goodness. They get these campaign consultants that say, hey, don't fill out any of the surveys. Mike Schietzelt like, you know what? I know what I believe. I believe what I say. I'm going to go on record and let the voters decide. We love that. That's good stuff. So keep that in mind about Mike Schietzelt. If you see Evonne Hopkins out there in the campaign trail, this lady right here, tell her that this is not 1760s and 70s and 80s Britain, that the sissy Brits over there in England might like this kind of tyranny. We don't do that. Maybe it would have gone over in 1940s Germany or Italy or Japan or something like that. But this is America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And we don't do that kind of tyranny right here in House District 35. So, folks, that's what I've got for you. Who you'd vote for is up to you. That's your own decision to make here. But I would ask you that on November 5th, round up all of your pro-gun friends, family, loved ones, co-workers, neighbors, church family. Head down to your local polls and vote pro-gun.